Hello! Thank you so much for watching. This is the instructional video on how to do the Japanese stab binding book kit. So if you don't have a kit, you can get one by visiting my website in the description below, and I will ship one directly to your house. This is what we're gonna make today. So your kit includes everything to make these two super cool books. So please remember, if you have any questions, comment below. I will try to get to them as quickly as possible and do my best to answer them. Here we go. Let's get started. So I'm gonna go ahead and unbox my kit here. Put that off to the side. You're so awesome. This is just a little note reminding you that if you've got questions, you can post them below or reach out to me. But to please share on social media. Take pictures of what you're doing, tag me in them. That's what I'm really missing from these digital workshops, is that I don't get to interact with you and I don't get to see what you're making. So please post pictures so I can take a look and see. And also reminding you that this is a fresh new skill. So we're learning some very basic beginning techniques that will hopefully open a door and you can continue to make pieces from the comfort of your home, especially during this weird, crazy time. So just get rid of that. I gotta be honest, I already filmed this entire video, but I accidentally had my camera set on time lapse. So the entire process condensed to 21 seconds. So hopefully we'll get through this seamlessly because I've already done it once today. So in your kit, you should have 2 lengths of black twine. You should have 2 super fancy office clips, a plastic bag that looks empty but actually does have a needle in the bottom, so be careful with that. A pencil. Aren't those so cute? They're like little golf pencils, but they're like have erasers. 2 pattern sheets. So one of them has 4 holes or 4 dots going straight down. That's design 1. The other one has 5 dots in a zigzag. That is design number 2. So you should have both of those. You should also have 4 pieces of cardstock in the color option that you chose. I chose the olive green. It's kind of like an olivey chartreuse green. Love it. So should have 4. And then like gobs of this thinner paper, which is going to be used as the interior sheets of our book. So let's get started on design number 1, which is the 4 holes straight down. So for my first book, I am gonna do just 3 interior pages. I gave you tons because you can add however many you want. The process is exactly the same, but for the sake of the video, I'm just gonna do 3, which is gonna give me a 6-page book. So obviously if you did 5, that's gonna give you a 10-page book, etc., etc. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna make our pages into what are called folios. So to do that, you just fold them in half. And now, I'm generally a person who's like, oh, anything imperfect is beautiful, but we really do wanna try to get these corners nice and tight. So really try to line those up as best you can. And you can see what I'm folding. I'm just gonna go over it with my fingernail, make it nice and kind of sharp. If you have a bone, like a bone folding tool, you can use that. But if you have a boning tool, then you probably aren't gonna be watching this video. So yeah, your fingernail works just as well for this. So I've got my 3 sheets, my 3 folios folded, and the folded end is over here, the open end is here. So you can see it's just like that. So I'm gonna start poking the holes. Let's go ahead and open our needle. Take that sucker out of there. And what you're gonna do is take design number 1 that has the 4 holes going straight down, and you're gonna take 1 folio with the folded side to the left. So you want the folded part of your folio to be as close to these dots as possible, and you want the opening side of your folio to be on the other side. This is where our binding is gonna be. If you're looking really closely, you can see that my design sheet, or the sheet with the dots on it, is a little bit larger than my folio page. That's because we want the cover to make a nice like overlap. So instead of, you know, going like this, where I have this kind of 1/8 of an inch gap there, I'm gonna go ahead and I'm gonna put my dot pattern in the middle of my folio, as in the middle as I can. So there's gonna be a little overhang on the top and bottom, but that's what we want. You'll see in the end. And then go ahead and poke your holes with your needle. Now, you want the holes to be nice and big, so don't be shy about pulling the entire needle through and really twisting the head of that needle to make a large hole. This is where you can feel it in your fingers. Bookbinders have ridiculously strong fingers and hands. I always imagine them to be those people who can like climb completely flat walls like with their fingertips, because they're super strong. So there we go, we have one, and you can see how big my holes are. That's what I want. So I'm gonna go ahead and do that to my other 2 folios. Again, if you have more than the 3 folios, that's totally fine. You're just gonna do this exact same thing to all of them. So for the sake of the video though, and not making it, you know, a 3-hour video, I'm gonna go ahead and just do 3 folios in this book. And probably the next one too, because we're making 2. So again, really make sure that that folded part of your folio is closest to the holes that we're poking, because if it's the other way around, then we're basically just gonna sew the sheets shut, and we really don't wanna do that. So if you're catching any background noise, I'm really sorry. Most of you know that I live above my studio, and so yeah. There's Daniel's up there moving around right now. Okay, so I've got my 3 folios with the holes poked. Now what I'm gonna wanna do is take them all, I'm just gonna line them all up. Those are gonna be the exact same size. So line those all up and go ahead and go through the holes again. That just makes sure all the holes are in the space where they need to be, and they're all kind of like open and ready to accept the stitching that we're gonna do. So go ahead and do that. Okay. And take 2 pieces. We're gonna have a front cover and a back cover. So 2 pieces of the colored cardstock. And you guessed it, we're gonna go ahead and poke that. Now, when you line this up with your design sheet, you'll see that it's actually more the same size of the sheet with the holes in it. That's because, again, we want that slight overhang with the covers. So go ahead and line that up and poke the holes. Da, da, da. Front cover done, back cover. Do it again. This is really a super basic way to start bookbinding. We're gonna do 2 very easy patterns, but it's something that shows you some basics, so you'll feel a little more confident to maybe go online, look up some other patterns, and check out some other ways to use them. So we are done with our pattern sheet now. I'm gonna go ahead and discard that over there. Now we want to line our covers up with our folios. So this is where you can really see that we're gonna have a little bit of overhang. The way that I like to do this is maybe put the needle through the top hole of one of the covers, take those folios that you just poked all the holes, kind of like that. That's just gonna help us get it all lined up and straight. And see how I'm just leaving that needle in there, but I'm getting all lined up. And when I feel pretty good about it, I'm gonna take those fancy off-brand office clips and clip them just like that. So go ahead and pull that needle through, and you should be able to like really like physically see through that hole there, through the other side. So you're gonna wanna do that to all 4 of those holes. Go ahead and twist that needle around. Now all the holes are lined up and they're gonna be ready to accept kind of like what we're gonna do to it here. So if you feel like you wanna go through it again and twist it, really don't be shy to have a big hole, because we're gonna go through them multiple times with twine, which is very, very thick. So, all right, there we go. So now we wanna label our book because this is gonna help through the binding process. So take that cutesy pencil and we're gonna put a T at the top of the book. So I'm just putting a T right here and a B at the bottom, and I'm doing it nice and light because I'm gonna wanna erase it when we're all done. And then numbering the holes to the right of the hole, we're gonna number 1, 2, 3, and 4. So 4 holes, starting 1 at the top hole, going 2, 3, 4 down to the bottom hole, and top and bottom of the book. So really that's gonna help us a lot when we're explaining which hole to go through at which time. Okay, so now it is twine time. We're gonna thread this through the needle. Now, normally I would like lick this end and wet it and then flatten it with my teeth, but in the time we are in of coronavirus, maybe you have a little dish of water if you need to dip your fingers in to wet that end of the twine, go that route, or you can just kind of do what I'm doing. I'm just flattening it out a little bit with my fingernail so that I can get it through the head of the needle. And sometimes you gotta just shake it a little, wiggle that around, and thread your needle. So I like to pull about 4 inches beyond the head of the needle and let that hang there. That gives us some nice thing to work with, and then you won't have to keep rethreading the needle because it's probably not gonna come out. So that's on one end. On the other end of the thread, or of the twine, we're gonna go ahead and knot it off. So I'm just gonna do a very basic kind of loop knot there, but pull it really, really tight. Use those fingernails. There we go. Make a nice tight knot. If you've got scissors at home, I hope you all have scissors at home, you can go ahead and use them to like snip that, you know, excess off there. So we've got a really tight knot close to the edge. So depending on the size of your hole, you might have to put a double knot, so another knot on top of it, because we just don't want it to go through the hole. I am pretty sure 1 should be sufficient for all of you, but we'll find out on our first stitch if it pulls right through, then you need to just go ahead and double knot it. But don't worry, you didn't do anything wrong. It's just that we just don't want it to come through the hole. So, okay, we're ready to start. All right, so when I say the front of the book, I mean the front the part that we drew on or wrote our numbers and letters on. That'll be the front. The back is the side that doesn't have anything on it. So let's get started. Okay, so to start, we're gonna take our needle. We are gonna go through the back side of hole number 2 and pull it through to the front. This is where it is really hard to get that needle through the hole the first time. Don't worry, it just is. So once you get it, if you need to like twist it around, oh yeah, did you hear it pop through? There we go. Pull it through, and this is where you'll figure out if you need another knot. So look at that, I just have 1 knot and it's totally, that's fine. Okay. So we're gonna go through the backside of hole number 2 again. If you need to kind of like pull that a little looser, move your knot to the side so you can get your needle through, go ahead and do that. It's not a big deal, so you can pull it tighter again. Woo, that paper is strong. Remember, the more interior sheets you have, the more folios you have, the more pages you have to go through. But other than that, you can do as many as you want. Okay, so we went through the backside of hole number 2 twice. This is what the front of our book looks like. That's what the back of it looks like. And be sure to pull it nice and taut now. Okay, we're gonna move down through the front of hole number 3. Pull that through. There's the front, there's the back. And we're gonna go through the front of hole number 3 again to make that kind of side stitch that we made a second ago. I know I'm moving my book around, I'm flipping it around a lot, but I'm gonna be sure to stop and show you at each point what the front and the back looks like. Okay, so there's the front. You can see you can kind of move these however you need. I'm gonna keep them nice and straight, or attempt to. There's the front of my book and the back side. And now we're gonna pop down and go through the back of hole number 4. It's really amazing how strong paper is, right? And remember, when you're pulling the thread or the twine, just go slow, you know, don't rush it. You don't want to accidentally get a knot. We're all gonna be in our houses for long enough that you can take your time with this. Okay, we're gonna go ahead and go through the back side of hole number 4 a second time, just like on the other holes, to create that side stitch. Okay. So here's what our front of the book looks like at this point. There's what the back is looking like. And we are gonna go through the back side of hole number 4 a third time to create that stitch on the bottom. Woo! Are your fingers tired already? There we go. And remember, pull it nice and tight. This paper is very strong. People underestimate it. It's super strong. Okay, so there's the front of our book. There's the back of our book. You can guess where we're gonna go next, right? We're gonna pop up and go through the front of hole number 3. Woo. Okay, there's the front, there's the back, and you can see where we're gonna go. We're gonna go through the back side of hole number 2, kind of fill in that gap there. Go ahead and pull it nice and tight. Okay, now we're gonna go ahead and go through the front of hole number 1. So here's the front of our book, here's the back of our book. They should look exactly the same right now. So go ahead and pop up through the front of hole 1. Get stuck there. There we go. And you can probably guess again what we're gonna do. We're gonna go through the front of hole 1 again to create that side stitch. Oh, there we go. Okay. And through the front of hole number 1 a third time to create the top stitch. My little doggy just came to pay a visit, so you might have heard her little clickety clackety nails. I need to trim her nails. Yeah, okay, so there is the top stitch. So the front of our book looks amazing. It looks like it's almost done, or it is done. The back, you can see we just have 1 gap left. So we don't want to go through that hole though, because then we have to knot it on the front. So we are gonna do a little knotting technique. And I know this is gonna be the hardest part to see, and I'll try to make it as visible as possible. So I'm just gonna take my needle and I'm gonna go behind those 2 stitches there. Just gonna thread that through behind. Pull it nice and slow. Okay. So you can see kind of what is happening here. I'm creating like a loop, and I'm gonna go through the back side of this loop right here. Just like that. Now it's really hard to actually pull it tight just by pulling the thread, so you're gonna need to use your fingers a little bit. Go ahead and do that. Pull it nice and tight. Use those fingernails to tighten that down, and you can really like rear on it, you know, like we talked about, this paper is super strong. There we go. Go ahead and cut that excess thread. I'm gonna pull the needle out because we're gonna use that again. And there's our book. If you have a little Elmer's glue at home and you just wanna dab that, you know, to make sure your knots aren't gonna come out, that's great, but you really don't have to. So we can go ahead and unclip this and erase our markings here. So we've got a nice, woo, look at that. Oh my gosh, it's ready to hold your most inner thoughts or sketches, whatever. This would be a great, you know, like CVOID 19 journal that you can keep. Not that we really want to remember what's been happening right now, but yeah, so there's book number 1. We're gonna go ahead and just jump right into book number 2 because I want you to be able to make it. You don't have to make both of them in the same day, just come back to the video, but I wanna go ahead and get going on that. So the process is exactly the same. We're gonna start with our folios. And again, I'm just gonna do 3 for the sake of this workshop because I don't want this video to be hours and hours and hours. So same process, I'm folding those pages in half to create the folios. This is where I need like a cute little like animal drawing to run across the screen and like dance for you while we're doing the background stuff. Okay, there. We have our 3 folios. I'm gonna take design sheet number 2, which has the 5 holes going in the zigzag, and I'm gonna do the exact same thing that we did before. So I'm gonna go ahead and make sure the holes are closest to the folded part of the folio. Every time I do this workshop, I have somebody ask, why can't we just poke all the holes in all the folios at the same time? If you really want to, you can. I recommend you do it this way because it is a little bit lighter on your fingers. Obviously, it's hard enough to just poke through one at a time. And also, when you're holding a bunch of pieces of paper and you're like struggling to, oh, use the needle the right way, Julie, geez. You're struggling to use it, then you can accidentally like make the paper slip and then the holes aren't gonna line up. So we want the holes to line up no matter what. And again, we're stuck in our houses now, so let's just take things slow. We don't need to rush. If that's one thing that we learned from this whole time of being home is hopefully that we learn to slow down a little bit, right? And just take it easy, enjoy where you're at the moment in time. Okay, so we've got our 3. Again, I'm gonna do what I did before where I just line those up, go through the holes again, and maybe twist my needle around. But see how I did them one at a time and the holes are all lining up pretty perfectly. Not trying to brag or anything, but that is why we just do them one at a time. Okay, there we go. And now it's time for our cover sheets. Go ahead and poke that. I hope this is something that you will continue on with. You know, I gave you the two patterns, but now that you know the basics, you can go online, you can find other patterns. There are some bookbinding artists that actually create images in the stitching of their bindings, which is amazing. So be sure to look it up online and see what's out there. This is such a great process to do in your house because you have most of everything that it needs or that it takes. So I really hope you'll continue to make stuff this way. You can always come back to the video if you need to look at that knotting technique or whatever, or hit me up if you've got questions too. All right, so I'm done with my design pattern. Put that off to the side. I'm gonna do what I did before since the sheets are a little bit different sized and create my little shish kebab of paper here. Get that all kind of nice and straight. Clip it. Bam. All right, go ahead and pull the needle through again. It's a very repetitive pattern, which should allow your mind to not be really bogged down. That's kind of what I love about these workshops is you have to think about them, but you're not like stressfully thinking about them. It gives your mind a little bit of a break. All right, we are almost ready. Let's go ahead and label our book again, just like last time. T at the top, B at the bottom. Numbering our holes 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. Hole number 1 at the top, hole number 5 at the bottom. And we're ready to thread our needle. Again, if you want to have that little dish of water, don't put this in your mouth just because we've got all these crazy, probably should never really put it in your mouth, put like random threads and stuff in your mouth, but it's just how it's been done forever. So, I think we're all reevaluating how to do specific things. Okay, there it is. I pulled a few inches beyond the needle there. I'm gonna go ahead and knot the other end just like before. The process is literally the same, other than the fact we have one more hole. So, okay, I'm gonna pull that knot nice and tight, trim the excess off, and we're ready to begin book number 2. Oh, yay! Oh my gosh, we are just like totally flying. I am so excited to see what you guys are making. Okay, so with this book, we're gonna start with hole number 4. So we're gonna go through the back side of hole number 4. Remember, there we go. It's getting started is the hardest part, right? Okay. And we're gonna go through the back side of hole number 4 again to create the side stitch, just like in the last book. And go nice and slow. I don't know what my problem is. I'm like trying to rush. There we go. Pull that nice and tight. So we went through hole number 4 2 times. Let's go ahead and zigzag down through the front of hole number 5. Okay, and you might be able to guess what we're gonna do. We're gonna go through the front of hole number 5 again to create that side stitch. All right, and through the front of hole number 5 a third time to make the bottom stitch. All right, and as you can see, you can move these. If you want that to like make a straight zigzag thing, you can. I'm just gonna make it straight down. So there's the front of our book. Here's the back. Look at what we think we're gonna do. This is where I start to like lose people. They go rogue, and that's totally fine. If you feel confident that you can finish this book because of what we learned in the last one, by all means, go ahead and do it. But just remember to share and post and tag and all that fun stuff. So that's what I'm gonna say at the end anyway. Okay, let's go ahead and zigzag up to the front of hole number 3. Slow down, Julie. There we go. You don't have to use twine for this. If you have like embroidery thread at your house and all those really beautiful colors, that's a super fun way to do books too. Okay, let's go through the front of hole 3 again to create that side stitch. So again, material-wise, use what you have. I mean, you can use anything to lace up a book with. You can use anything for the covers. I've seen wooden covers, I've seen metal covers, I've seen books done up with shoelaces. Okay, let's go through the back side of hole number 2. I hope I'm not going too fast for you, but it should be pretty easy to follow along on the second one after the first one. Okay, so here's what the front of our book looks like. There's the back of it. You can guess we're gonna go through the back side of hole number 2 again to create that side stitch. We've done that on every single hole through both books so far. And go ahead and remember, pull that tight. Okay, so let's hop up to hole number 1, go through the front of hole 1. And you know what's coming with this one. We're gonna go through that one 3 times. So let's go through the front of hole number 1 a second time to create that side stitch. Just like that. And then we're gonna go through the front of hole number 1 a third time to create the top stitch. And you can see we're coming down to it. Our book is coming together. Woo! Okay, there's the top stitch. So you see we're missing 1 gap here, but that's what it should look like. On the back side, we're missing a couple gaps. So you can see on the back, we're gonna go ahead and fill one in by going through the back side of hole number 2. That brings us down to where we need to be to fill in our final gap on the front. So go through the front of hole number 3. Yay, look at that. The front of our book looks amazing. Okay, so let's flip it over. Now we know we're gonna do that knotting technique again. So this is a good time to take a look at it. I'm gonna go ahead and feed my needle through those 2 stitches just like on the last book. Pull it nice and slow here so you can take a look at what I'm doing. Okay, pulled it nice and slow, and then this little tiny loop over here, I'm gonna go right through the back side of that. And then again, it's really hard to tighten that just by pulling on the thread, so you're gonna have to use your fingers to pull the different areas of the thread to make it nice and tight. And then use those fingernails. If that is too difficult of a knotting technique, you know what, just feed it through those 2 little stitches and go ahead and physically tie a knot around one of them. It's really, there's no wrong way. Trim that off. Normally in Japanese stab binding, we would start the binding process inside the actual pages of the book, and then we would end there so that the knots are inside the book. But that's really difficult for your first time, so this is a great way to just have an introduction to it. And yet both of our knots are on the back side, so you don't have to see them on the front. Look at that. I'm gonna erase these. And our second book is done. Oh, lovely. It's ready for you. One could be a sketchbook, one could be a little journal, whatever you're thinking. I mean, play with this process. You know, cut different pieces of colors of paper, different sizes. Look at some other patterns if you want, or you can tweak these patterns to become your own. It's completely up to you. I'm so excited to see what you'll make. So please let me know. I want to see pictures. Please tag me, all that great stuff. Visit my website. I will be posting more workshop kits as the weeks go on. So make sure to check in and stay up to date with that. And I think we're done. I hope you guys enjoyed your time with me. I hope you love your 2 little Japanese stab bound books. And yeah, stay happy, stay healthy. I love you guys. Bye-bye.